If your landscape photos feel empty even when you visit beautiful places, you're probably photographing the wrong thing. By the end of this video, you'll know how to create stunning landscape images in any weather at any location, even the most ordinary places that you drive past every day. No more waiting for perfect conditions, no more chasing Instagram locations, just 3 techniques that will transform how you see. Let me prove it to you. These 3 images were all shot at the same stretch of beach in Arnside, Morecambe Bay, just over 2 days. This one, a mediocre sunrise. Nothing spectacular, but a 4.5 minute exposure transformed ordinary light into something ethereal. This one, shot at midday in stormy conditions, the kind of weather most photographers might avoid. But that's exactly what created this drama. And this one, also midday on a rather overcast day, it's just a puddle on a beach. But it's complete abstraction. Same location, any weather works. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do this at your local spot, whatever that is. 3 techniques that work in any weather at any location. How to use long exposure to transform ordinary conditions into something atmospheric. How to find drama when everyone else is packing up because it's midday and stormy. And how to use reflections to turn the most ordinary scenes into abstract art. By the end of this, you'll be able to go to your local beach, your nearest woodland, even your town park, and create 3 completely different images that tell 3 different stories. Same place, any weather. That's what we're covering. So let me be clear about what we're doing here. I'm not teaching you 3 separate techniques to add to your toolkit. I'm teaching you 3 different ways of seeing the same place. These 3 approaches, I apply them all to one stretch at Arnside, about 200 metres of coastline. That's it. First approach is to take a long exposure as that transforms ordinary light. Look at this image. Most people assume that it was shot during some spectacular sunrise, right? Wrong. This was a mediocre morning. Bit of colour, nothing special. But I put a 13 stop ND filter on and exposed for 4.5 minutes, 272 seconds. And watch what happens. The water becomes glass. Those ripple patterns in the wet sand soften into flowing lines. The clouds blur into this ethereal gradient from pink to blue, and even the Lake District fells take on this dreamlike quality. The technique has turned ordinary light into something atmospheric. You don't need perfect conditions, you need the right technique for the conditions you've got. The long exposure doesn't just smooth water, it transforms time. Everything that moves becomes a ghost, and everything still stays sharp. That contrast between the solid viaduct and the flowing ethereal quality of everything else, that's what creates the story. So you use long exposures to transform ordinary conditions. The second approach was about finding drama in bad conditions. This was shot at midday, literally the worst light according to conventional wisdom. But look at those clouds, look at that drama. Storm clouds building over the fells, warm tones on the landscape contrasting with grey sky, wet sand patterns catching that strange stormy light. Same location as the first image, same viaduct, but a completely different story. Where the first was soft and contemplative, this is tense, dramatic, almost threatening. I shot this in pretty filthy weather. There were a lot of heavy showers that came on unpredictably. The kind of day that a lot of photographers would just write off. But that weather, those storm clouds, they are the image. Here's the challenge. The sky is dramatic, but the wet sand's reflecting it. Massive dynamic range. So I shot 2 exposures and blended them. One, a fast exposure to hold the clouds, and one, a slow, long exposure to smooth out the water. The fundamental decision is shoot in the storm, not around it. Make the weather the subject. Sometimes bad light is exactly what the story needs. So embrace those difficult conditions. And this final approach takes us into complete abstraction. The third approach is abstractions through reflections. The same location again, but you can't immediately tell what you're looking at, can you? This is the seafront buildings, the Albion pub, the Victorian terraces. They're reflected in a large puddle on the beach at low tide. The buildings are barely visible at the top. What dominates is the reflection. It's more like a painting than a photograph. The ripples have distorted the architecture. The wet sand adds texture. It's almost abstract. When you use reflections, you move from documentation into interpretation. You're showing how you experience the place, not what it literally looks like. The key is getting low. The camera is just 6 or 12 inches from the sand, shooting across the puddle surface. From that angle, the reflection fills the frame. And this only works because I scouted the location intimately. I saw how the low tide created puddles in specific spots, and I developed that knowledge by returning again and again, not by seeking new places. So I used the reflections to move from literal to interpretive. Same set of beach, 3 completely different images. Long exposure transforming ordinary light, storm conditions creating midday drama, and reflections creating abstraction. 3 ways of seeing, same location. So what's the real lesson? It's not the ND filters or exposure blending or reflection techniques. These are just tools. The lesson is that the place is just the starting point. How you see it, what light you choose, what weather you embrace, what techniques you apply, that's what creates the story. And you develop that by returning, by photographing the same place in different conditions with different intentions, not by constantly chasing new locations. I couldn't have made these 3 images if I didn't know Arnside. I couldn't have known where the puddles form, how the viaduct sits in the frame. And that knowledge has come from repetition. So that's how it starts. Light and atmosphere, 3 approaches, same location, completely different stories. So here's how you actually do it yourself. Firstly, pick your spot. Somewhere local you can get to easily and return to in different conditions. Don't pick the most dramatic location, pick the most convenient one. Second, commit to photographing it 3 times minimum. Once in whatever weather you get, once in different light, and once focusing on water or some element that forces abstraction. Give yourself a month. You're not trying to document the place, you're learning to see it differently each time. That's the practice, and that's what develops vision. And I guarantee you'll surprise yourself. When you stop chasing new locations and start mining the ones you know, that's when the real work begins. Now look, if you're watching this and thinking, I understand the concept, but I'm struggling to apply it to my own work, that's completely normal. Developing vision isn't something you pick up from one video. It's something you work through over time with feedback and guidance. And that's exactly why I offer one-to-one mentoring. It's not a course, it's not a workshop, it's direct work with me on your photography. We'll look at your images, we'll talk through your thinking, and I'll help you develop your own way of seeing. Not my style, your style, but grounded in storytelling principles that actually work. If that sounds useful, I've put a link in the description to book a free discovery call. It's 30 minutes, no pressure. We just talk about where you're at with your photography and whether working together would make any sense. I only take on a few mentoring clients at a time because it's intensive one-to-one work. So if you are interested, have a look at the link and let's have that conversation. And if now's not the right time, that's absolutely fine. The videos are here, the techniques are here, that's what's useful, and run with it. Right, let's recap. 3 approaches to light and atmosphere. Long exposure transforming ordinary light, storm conditions creating midday drama, and reflections creating abstraction. Apply them to your local spot and see what you learn. Now, the next video in this series, I'm going to look at memory and time, how to photograph history and traces without being literal about it. That one's harder, I'll be honest, but it's worth figuring out. Until then, get out there with your 3 approaches and let me know what you discover. And I'll see you in the next one.